the teams are getting ready to sort out what dramas ail the cars. Jan Erlaché and Andy Prio's cars, 11 and 111, are both out of Parc Fermé. Erlaché is 68, isn't he, not 11. That's Ted Björk's car next door. That is still in Parc Fermé. They must be in Parc Fermé until repair time starts, which it has not. If you need more time, you can fix the car, but you surrender your grid position, so you then head to the back of the field. And Prio should have been starting alongside Rob Huff in 12th position. So Andy and Erlaché will be back down into the low 20s. Getting my Scandinavians confused there. Well, it was Johan Kristoffersson, of course, the Volkswagen driver and double World Rallycross champion, not the boss of the PWR racing team. So my Niels's and my Jan's. Yeah, there we go.
Easily done, Mark.
I'm thinking of too many things, and yeah, I'm going to blame Age. Well, let's hear from Gordon Shedd, another car that took a big damage hit in the race.
More damage, but this is the sort of racing you're used to, isn't it, Shedd?
There's quite a lot going on out there, to say the least. It was I was in the box seat for most of it, and there was a lot going on, and the conditions were really tricky because it was changing lap on lap, and you know, certain cars were strong at different parts of the race. But for the majority of the race, so as long as I lasted, it was a lot of fun.
What did happen at the end? Was it Langeveld that you came together with?
No, I think it was Ma. Hit me into turn 2 and just speared me into the barrier on the right. So I haven't seen the replay. But, you know, I'm not sure if there was anybody else around at that time, but it just seemed a bit... I was minding my own business, about to turn left, and all of a sudden I'm being turned right into the barriers. So, yeah, needless, but a bit of a shame.
And how much damage to the car?
Quite a lot, and the problem is now there's, you know, with the repair time that we've got before the second race, it's going to be very hard to get it pointing anywhere in a straight line. And yeah, it just seems to be our luck at the minute. Nothing quite falling my way, but never mind. You know, the car was good. It was a lot of fun out there, and if we can do something with it and the heavens maybe play their little part again, who knows what can happen in race 3.
Flash, bad luck.
Yeah, and thanks, by the way, to Gordon and for the supply of Tunnocks.
Other caramel wafers are commonly available.
Yeah, but not from Scottish drivers.
Yeah, I won't hear a bad word said about the guy.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, in defence of Marcin Kvar, though, Flash was coming down the inside and was on the inside, but then did try and make a little bit of room for himself in the corner, and it was 3 wide. I'm not sure that he knew there was another car on the outside of Mar basically between a rock and a hard place, and it was just one of those things, unfortunately.
Gordon might change his view slightly when he sees the replay.
Do racing drivers do that? Well,
they do in private. Whether they do it on camera, I'm not so sure. But yeah, there was just so much bumping and barging in that race, and you know, like Gordon said, a lot going on. But you know, Gordon again probably feeling a bit sick as a pig that his teammates again on the podium doing a great job up the front end, and that pressure starts to build. But hopefully for Gordon, he can start turning his season around.
Look at the left-hand side of Erlaché's car. It's already got a ding in the door, but then it gets another thump in the right rear corner from Gabriele Tarquini. If you're a driver out there who was in the 6 to 19 group who didn't get hit by Tarquini, you're definitely in a class of 1, I think. Gabriele, Rubbing was definitely racing in his touring car day today. Again, you know, with Ivan, you know, they're old friends, but...
That must be the puncture moment.
Yeah,
Mark,
you're right. I don't think we saw that live on board. But yeah, you're right.
Looks slightly ambitious as Tarquini enters from stage right there, so...
Well, whatever else, there is definitely fight in Gabriele Tarquini. There's Norbert Mikulic, his teammate. Now, Norby's car, again, that came in with a lot of damage, and he did not have a great result in race 2. The key for him is race 3, where he is our pole man. Al is there. Let's hope this is going to be a good one for Norby.
Right, Norby. We heard worries over the radio of overheating the engine. I think there's a little bit of damage on the car. Can you talk us through it, seeing as you're starting in pole?
Yeah, the most important thing for the second part of the race is to keep the car in one piece. After I realized that it's not really possible to get ahead, the target was to score some points, but I realized that the alignment probably is not 100%. So I decided to come back to the pits for the guys to have some extra repair time, because the focus is now on race 3.
And your strategy for race 3, given the very changeable weather right now?
Yeah, it all depends on the rain. Right now, I think it's stopped, but it can start every minute again, so not expecting an easy race. Thanks.
Yeah, anybody who thinks this one's going to be a walk in the park, Richard, is about to be very firmly disavowed of that. It's never easy with the quality and the closeness of this field. A little bit of drizzle probably won't help. With the yellow helmet, you saw Gabriele Tarquini. The gold helmet, you saw Gabriele Tarquini. He's with Alex.
Gabby, are you causing mischief again?
So it was a crazy race. I mean, probably watching the people love it because there a lot of action. Probably too much because the surface was very slippery, many mistakes. But in the end, I mean, I didn't score any points, but I enjoyed.
What was your coming together? Talk us through what happened there.
Yeah, I was pushing on the straight my teammate because he's slowing down because his exit was not fantastic. And we was fighting with Lincoln Coca, and I push him and he can stay in front.
Such a monkey. Thanks, Gabby.
This is team job. Team job.
See, he's very even-handed. If you're in the way, it doesn't matter whether you're his teammates or his rival team. He's still going to help you out of the way.
Yeah, and I think there's a fair few drivers in that race that will be fairly gleeful that he picked up a puncture and scored no points, because he certainly caused enough of them a few problems there, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever else, Gabriele wants his line, and if anybody's in the way, then he's going to defend it as much as he can. So, repair time has now started officially for everybody. The repairs continue on Yann Alochet and Andy Prio's car. And as Norby said, his focus today has been surviving race 2 to start on pole for race 3. So bringing the car in, you can do anything you want during the race. It's not in parc ferme, so they had time to straighten up the alignment and everything else. Well, let's hear as the repair time begins what's going on.
When you were on the start line and the grid, you seemed a little bit cautious, and rightly so. That was quite a hairy race, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, tricky conditions, obviously, with the rain starting, and you never know how much it will come, if it's going to come harder. We had this example a few years ago here. So it's always a bit of tense race, but we had a different strategy. I had a different set of tires, and it was actually quite good for the first 7-8 corners. I overtook maybe 2 or 3 cars per corner. It was quite good. Unfortunately, somebody hit me really hard on the rear right, spun me into a 360, and that was it. So it's very rough when you start at the back. I mean, very different from Marrakesh, where you are at the front and everything seems to be a bit more fair and a bit more cautious. At the rear is really gladiator style, and you need to be lucky. You know, there's a lot of contacts. Some contacts don't hurt you, some contacts make you stop.
How much damage is there to the car?
There was a big damage in the rear, and then when I spun, I also touched a little bit the wall, the rail, so there was a lot of damage at the front splitter, but we were able to repair, and hopefully the car will be with a good setup now for the second race.
Strategy tires now?
We'll wait a little bit more depending on how much water comes down again. But you know, being at the back like I am today, 21st on the grid, I can take the risk and try to do the opposite of the others, so we'll see.
Well, in that first replay, we saw him behind Johan Kristoffersson and then flying past the Swedes' Volkswagen. I think it may well have been Kristoffersson, who was also on that split axle strategy with slicks on the front and wets on the rear, actually, who got into the back of Tiago a few meters later. There's Attila Tashi. Boy, he had an entertaining race as well. Lots going on with his encounter, punching his weight with world champions left, right and centre. Repair time firmly underway. And we've got another 11 minutes and 45 seconds. Few spots of rain coming down here at the Hungaro ring. Repair time underway, and Ted Björk's car is just about ready to go. He's with Alex Le Guy.
The steering didn't look very straight, Ted.
What?
Steering?
Yeah, it looked strange, but it was so much beating around, going around. Absolutely crazy. I just got knocked over. So
Strategy for this race?
I just keep my fingers crossed it works better.
Well, he's not in a bad position, Richard Coleman. Starts 7th on the grid, so he'll be ahead of a lot of the carnage, but not necessarily all of it.
Yeah, he had a very difficult race, obviously, but I don't know what happened because he was second coming out of sort of turn 2 into 3, and then got mugged basically by 2 or 3 cars and fell back into the clutches of the pack. And from there, his race just went downhill very quickly, but he had a great shot at a podium there. So, yeah, very, very difficult race for Ted.
Rather a lot of damage to the right-hand side and a very angry-looking Jan Erlache. Talk us through it.
There is nothing else to say. You know, the accident I had yesterday with Aurelian, I can understand. But with a guy like Gabriele, I'm struggling to understand. But now, you know, I learned something. I had quite a lot of respect for this guy, but I don't have any more now. Because we are trying to make good races and stuff. You're just trying to save your place. And I was not even defending, like I was just driving on the line, he just smashed into me. And I got like maybe hit 100 times in this race. I'm starting to be fed up a little bit.
How much damage to the car?
I don't know yet. I will tell you when I will do the lap on the grid. I hope the car will drive at least a little bit straight so I can defend my place on race 3.
I mean, when you're out there, the conditions like this, can you overtake?
It's difficult, yeah, you can if you push the other guys out. But I mean, it's not the way it is, so we will see.
Well, now, disappointment for Erlache will come twofold. He got through into Q3. He is due to start 3rd. Ivan's got in without his helmet and now can't find it. It's going to be hard to put on inside the car when he's got the hand system already on him, but not attached to the helmet. However, he knows what he's doing. So Erlache,
gadget arms.
Yeah, Erlache, the car was out at Parc Fermé being worked on, so as far as we understand it right now, he should not start 3rd. He should be on one of the final rows of the grid. There was he and Andy Priaulx. May well end up on the last row of the grid, and everybody else will possibly be shuffled forward. We haven't received an updated grid, but we'll wait and see how that goes. Norbert Mikulich yet to leave the pit lane. He's been in this situation before, up to the wire, or down to the wire, I think the expression is. Repairs in repair time to get him out and allow him, in that case, to win a race in a Zengo black and orange BMW. Driven so many cars, Norby, hard to keep up with them. But it doesn't look like there's that much damage this time.
No, it doesn't, and hopefully that stands him in good stead for the race. Obviously, disaster for Erlache with his 3rd row grid position going to be nullified with him to the back, having breached the Parc Fermé regulation. But obviously, the team must have had no choice given the damage that he sustained with Gabriele, and I can totally understand that he was losing his temper with him there.
And the irony, of course, is that he was supposed to be 3rd with Gabriele 4th alongside him on the grid. So it's a double bonus for Gabriele because Erlache won't be starting beside him, and therefore Gabriele effectively is the 3rd car away off the line. So, yeah, he got away relatively unscathed in terms of damage. Well, Gordon Shedden's car appears to be back together. I'm not sure if that ding on the left rear corner is the one that broke the damper yesterday, or I think it must be. I don't think that could have been any of the contacts that was going around on the early laps of this race. Definitely that gaffer tape is a new addition. Nicky Katzberg's car being tie-wrapped back together. Tie-wrap and gaffer tape, without which obviously the world would stop turning as far as motor racing is concerned. It's not going to be the most aerodynamic bodywork ever, but as long as it doesn't fall off, then they will be okay.
BRC team mainly known for their rallying exploits, so these guys very adept to these short service periods that we have in the WTCR.
Whatever else, that is not going to stay on, is it? It's barely attached to wet bodywork, and there's a gaping hole at the front.
You'd be surprised. I think by the time they've got a weave on that, that'll be okay.
And of course, their key thing now is to get him out of the pit lane, because they can continue adding tape on the grid to try and hold it all together. You can continue work on the grid right up until the 5-minute board. So the key thing, get them out of the pit lane before it closes in under 6.5 minutes. Well, Rob Huff getting ready to go. Looks like Huffy is in the car. Not sure whether Mehdi Banani's car is coming out to play or not. He seemed a little bit uncertain as to whether he would have a chance to get out onto the grid. I think the other two Golfs. Oh, there goes Johan Kristoffersson. I think Benny Loister's car has left. Only the question mark over the Moroccans. Let's hear from Ted Björk.
Okay, Ted, just for your info, the track, of course, is declared the track wet, okay, just for your info.
Yeah, I have the night clock, but the track is better condition than last time we were out.
Repeat, did you say slippery than last time?
No, track is better than last time. Track is better.
Okay, copy that. One thing, on your way around, just think about your bop. Think about your bop.
Think about your bop. That's not where we're going to go dancing tonight. Don't do anything silly like accidentally set the fastest race lap, because next time out, when we go to Slovakia, what has happened in the last 3 races, 3 race weekends, so here and in Marrakesh, and the final race weekend of last season will all be taken.
The first one,
first 2 weekends, that's right.
Of this year.
Will be taken into consideration who gains power, who gains weight, who loses power, who loses weight, and so on and so forth. So the balance of performance, BOP, which is automatically worked out based on lap times of the cars, the different manufacturers, the different makes, will be adjusted to try and make what is an intensely tight field apparently even more tight. Because 8 thousandths from first to second, Richard, that's a yawning gap that really shouldn't be allowed to continue.
Of course, the circuits are different as well for which suits which car, etc., etc. We see the winner of the European touring car round in the Peugeot.
Yeah.
The Peugeot, of course, in the WTCR at the moment.
Over half a dozen of them in TCR Europe, along with Renault Meganes, and of course a bunch of 10 Hyundais, I think. That's the most numerous. Pumping up the lubrication system on, is that Farfus's car? I think it is. Yes, it is. Number 8.
Putting a bit of pressure in the water system.
That's the water system. Okay, there we go. See, that's why engineers know this stuff. So cars heading out. You can also come back through the pit lane, as you saw a couple doing there, to give yourself another run around the track, just to get maybe a little bit more of a feel for the conditions. What you do not want to do is come down through the pit lane only to find a red light at the exit. That would be a faux pas of enormous proportions.
Of course, Ted reporting that the track conditions have improved from the race just gone, race 2, as we head into race 3, but it's very, very difficult to predict weather here, as we were talking about earlier on, and we're in a natural sort of bowl, almost like an amphitheatre here. It's very, very dusty and dirty in the good weather, but it also means it's very difficult to predict the weather and see which weather is coming in at you, very unsighted. And being here in the heart of continental Europe, it's very hard to see when clouds form or don't form or whatever else, and we've had a lot of problems with weather here in the past.
Which tires do I have at the rear? You still have rain tires, because we prefer to go on like this because there was no tires. Okay.
All right, that suggests that he might not like what he's feeling at the rear, but then he didn't like what he felt at the rear with the wet weather tyres on the way to the grid the last time round. Now, what Ted was saying was that the conditions were better for the race. Don't forget, it started to rain before the end of the race, so that's his parameter. Are the conditions any drier than they were before the beginning of the last race? It looks as though they're probably roughly the same. This is Norby having a bit of an out lap. Whoopsie. Nothing too much of a problem there, luckily. Pit lane closes in inside 2 minutes. Tomasz Tenka's car you just saw up on its jacks on the grid. The grid is gradually being populated.
Yeah, I can see quite a lot of flags fluttering in the wind. I'm sure that makes it ever more that the weather could change at a very quick moment's notice. But yeah, it's great when we have a little sprinkling of rain, isn't it? It really does spice up the action. We were 3-4 wide for most of the part of the first 2 laps, and then had some great racing all the way through that race and all the way through the field.
It never settled down, did it? Whether you were looking at the battle for first or last, it was all arms and elbows. And the car that comes out of this with no damage is going to be a very rare car indeed. There's Michał Szkona. He was right in the middle of things. They're going to have to put a new sill cover on his car. You can see the circular mark on the driver's door where he collected that contact from somebody's wheel. And it will be a very rare car that doesn't need quite a lot of remedial work before they go to Slovakia. And it was interesting with PWR, with Daniel Hegloff, he was saying in his post-race interview that because of where they're based in Sweden and Scandinavia, you know, that adds an extra day travelling either direction between races in the European firmament. So Come To You Racing are helping them with logistics. Basically, I think the cars go as far as Belgium and then come back, rather than another day to Sweden and another day back in. And that will make a big difference when you're trying to re-prep them between now and Slovakia in a couple of weeks' time.
Not that uncommon, though. We go to a lot of flyaway races in this series, and the big teams are very set up for that kind of service plan, and it's all very, very premeditated and thought about, planned months before. So, yeah, hopefully that won't pose too much an issue for them.
Well, it's a bit of a scramble for PWR at the last minute. As Daniel said, a couple of months ago, they definitely were not in the WTCR, and now suddenly they have found themselves in a position to make an entry. And boy, what a bang they arrived with. He was in the top 10 in qualifying, his very first race in the world level on a circuit he'd never even seen before. And his teammate got a podium in Marrakesh in race 3. He's now got a podium himself in race 2. So the mildly damaged car of Norbert Mikulich is on the DHL pole position. And alongside him should be Esteban Guerrieri. Guerrieri yesterday in 3rd place, 5th place today. He is our joint championship leader. Norbert Mikulich looking for a home win from the DHL pole. Jan Elochet qualified 3rd fastest ahead of Gabriele Tarquini. And our double race winner, Nesta Girolami, will start 5th with high hopes of more points. Michał Szkona alongside him. Ted Bjork and Augusto Farfus on row 4 of the grid, 7th and 8th. Daniel Hegloff from a podium in race 2 starts 9th. Jean-Carl Verne, 2nd in race 2, will start 10th. Behind him, Huff and Prio, row 6 of the grid. Katzberg and Panis on row 7. On row 8, Muller and Coronel. Lots of experience further back in the field than the top 12. And then Attila Tassi, the young Hungarian, in 17th place, with Mehdi Banani looking questionable in 18th. Can't quite see down the pit lane to see whether his car left the grid or not, or left for the grid or not. Fredrik Vervish and Benny Leukner make 19th and 20th, ahead of Thiago Monteiro and Johan Kristoffersen. And again, Thiago and Kristoffersen, two of those who gambled on slick wet combos in race 1, didn't pay off. Will they gamble again? Niels Langeveld, Kevin Chekon, Gordon Shedden, Marcin Kła, and our final starter will be Tomasz Tenka of Hungary, the wild card for Zengo Motorsport. I'm now going to stand up. This is live television, and Jan Elochet is in his 3rd place on the grid. So it looks as though the car was not taken out of Parc Fermé. We'll have to see what happens with that. Well, Norbert Mikulich is busy chatting to his engineers. He is wired for sound. We will hope to hear his thoughts in just a moment as he sits on the DHL pole position at his home race at the Hungaroring, ready to start the final race of the weekend and look for his first win here since 2015. So he's won twice here in his history of races at the Hungaroring. And although the grandstands look fairly empty, that's because everybody is sheltering from the rain. Let's hear from Norby.
Hi fans from WTCR. As you could see, the first race from today was already mayhem. Was big action. Unfortunately, I had a small issue with the overheating engine, so because of that, I really needed to manage my pace. But I think we managed to fix the car. I will give a big push, starting from pole. Of course, the most important thing for me is to have a good start, and then to stay in front. Won't be easy, but we'll do our best. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
All right, well, Norby will be definitely cheered to the echo. You can hear the air horns chirping away furiously for their man on pole position. Alongside him, Esteban Guerrieri. And our pole man for race 2 there, Jean-Carl Vernet, JK. Another strong race from him. Didn't manage in the end to convert pole to victory, but took points for second place. So 2017 TCR International Series champion. Lies 4th in the standings. And a good chance, perhaps, of adding to those. Who knows what can happen here? But 4th and 2nd, that's a good race weekend so far for him. It looks as though there were no changes to the grid. So Jan Eloshe, I can definitely see in his 3rd grid spot. Don't know what's happened to Andy Prio, whether he's moved back or not. It did look like Tomaszczenko was the final car on the grid. 9th place, Daniel Hegloff, and he will be definitely ready for this, having just claimed his first ever world-class touring car podium. Well, Richard, 11th for Hegloff in race 1, 3rd in race 2, and starts firmly in the top 10. Needs to be a good point-scoring afternoon for him, doesn't it?
Certainly does, and I can well imagine the Cupra getting hit with a BOP issue in Slovakia at the next race. So they really need to try and make some hay here, and they're really doing that. I mean, 3-4 in that race for that team. Yeah, it's a really, really big result for those guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Slightly fattered by this man who I think picked up a bit of damage early on in the race and effectively became the cork in the champagne bottle, and had a train of 10+ cars behind him, which provided us with some great racing, but allowed the PWRs to scamper off with that lead group of Vernet ahead in 2nd, and of course our race winner, Nestor Girolami.
Didn't quite get the reward, did he? He was 5th for most of the race, then finally got levered out of the position, and then it was sort of free fall as he got held offline, hung out to dry in the American parlance, ended up with a 2nd 9th place finish. Still, that's 2 races in the points, and even by his own admission, he's still getting to grips, trying to get to grips again with front-wheel drive touring car racing, or front-wheel drive racing of any kind. Getting to grips with that is less of an issue for Ted Björk. Quite happy after racing in the World Touring Car Championship, where he was the last World Touring Car Champion in 2017.
Yeah, he thought he had the run of the green really in the first couple of corners, but then turn 3 onwards just got swamped for the next sort of sequence, and ended up getting knocked around and picking up damage, and the race come undone pretty quickly after that. But he had a great shot to sort of finish 2nd or 3rd in that race, and all fell apart rather quickly.
The slight problem when you go inside into turn 1, which is what he did to get up into 3rd, is you end up being on the outside at turn 2, and that's where all the accident damage finds you, and sort of what happened to him. And then 3 and 4, yeah, lots of cars getting fired off wide, and Ted was one of those. So a good race 1, where he was on the podium, not a great race 2. Sixth on our race 3 grid here in Hungary, Michela Skona for PWR Racing, one of the youngest drivers in the championship, the TCR Europe champion last year. Now, TCR Europe have just had their opening 2 races today before the World TCR cars came out on the grid. And so the guys that he raced against last year will be watching this going, that's where I need to be next year. Whatever else I do this year, I've got to raise the funds to be able to go and step up the ladder to the top of the table.
Yeah, and despite being a very young driver, you know, he won the European Championship last year. He knows how to put race weekends together, and he's exploiting the Cupra very well with the PWR team. And you have to say, you know, they've pulled well ahead of the ComTU run Cupras, of Coronel and Panis.
Definitely have. Big weekend already for Nesta Girolami. Pole position for race 1, won it. Won race 2 as well. I mean, he really fought hard in the opening couple of laps, somehow created gaps in traffic, and that ability, or stroke rubber the green, whichever it is, it's always a combination of the two. That's going to make this a massive weekend. The same sort of massive weekend that Gabriele Tarquini had, really, with 2 wins in Marrakesh to begin last season. When you get that big pile of points at the beginning, it makes it easier than if the car takes a bit of a BOP hit and you go to Slovakia and you're sort of in the teens. You've still got points in the bank. Now for Tarquini, it's slightly the opposite position. The defending champion, the 2009 World Touring Car champion, he didn't quite have the strongest run yesterday, and in the end, he's 5th in the championship with 1 race to go here. That's not bad, considering the Hyundai is not, as it was last year, absolutely the fastest car in the field right from the beginning of the season.
Tarquini was sitting quite pretty in that race, wasn't he, until he sort of went a little bit too far with the van, and I have to say, he probably got his comeuppance.
A little bit of what he'd handed out came back to him, yes. Probably not in spades, but...
As ever, pretty philosophical about it after the race, but yeah, certainly didn't make many friends, that's for sure.
More philosophical than, say, the man alongside him in the grid, Jan Erlaché was. Yes.
Well, and that's very much a theme to watch out for into turn 1, because you know, Jan is still pretty young and gets very you know, emotional as you do, and it's a highly charged race weekend. He's out with something to prove, and he's certainly not going to show Gabriele much quarter or probably even respect into turn 1. And we watched the safety car just go through on some greasy conditions, but we hear that everybody's starting on slick tyres for this next race.
Good bit of practice for Pedro Cachero, because next weekend he will be the safety car driver for the World Endurance Championship at Spa, where the forecast is it will come as no very great surprise to you for quite a lot of rain. So Pedro, our regular safety car driver Bruno Carrere is safety car driving for Formula E, or was driving for safety car driving for Formula E yesterday in Paris. So Pedro Cachero is taking up the mantle here this weekend. Looks still fairly greasy, and that could be even more entertaining for us, but tougher work maybe for Jan Erlaché. At least he starts on the driver's preferred line going down into turn 1, but it's not the inside line.
Not convinced it is in the rain, if it is a bit damp, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we'll work that one out as we get down to turn 1. But from what we could see inside the safety car, it looks like there is still a bit of drizzle in the air, and you know, that'll spice things up for us in this race 3. Hopefully it'll be as good as what we had in race 2.
I think his option, if he can't get in front of Gabriele Tarquini right from the start, will be to go the long way around the outside and try and conjure something into turn 2 where he could have the inside line. The front row men, Esteban Guerrieri, our joint championship leader, and the pole man Norbert Michelisz, again on driver's left. The outside is pole. In the dry, that's great. In the wet, not sure we're going to capitalise so much in this. 3rd yesterday in race 1, 5th in race 2. I think there's very good money on him leading into turn 1. I think very good money. He's got the inside line already. We saw how hard yesterday Nesta Girolami from pole had to work to cover off Ivan Muller, because in a sprint race, you want to go straight ahead. You don't want to cut across the track. That adds distance on your run down to turn 1. That's exactly what Norby is going to have to do.
Link and Co cars have definitely been pretty demon off the line. Remains to be seen whether that's quite the case in these damp conditions, but we've definitely seen them sort of being probably the benchmark as far as quick starts go.
Well, Norbert Michelisz will start on pole. The Hungarians are fast approaching a crescendo. Calm yourselves, leave yourselves somewhere to go. Otherwise, it's going to be a long, long race. It is the longest race of the weekend. Race 1 and race 2 were a dozen laps. This is scheduled for 15. And 10th place in the standings so far for Norby. 10th in race 1, no points in race 2, where he decided to take one for the team, hit the canvas, and give the team a chance to straighten up his car for the final encounter. The one he hopes that will give him a 25-point reward. He already qualified on pole position, so he has 5 points from today anyway. Another 25 for victory will certainly feel very sweet with the air horns and the cheers of his adoring public ringing in his ears. They're adoring, and they're probably absolutely freezing as well. It is not warm, I don't care what the temperature says. Look at the blustery breeze. There's the trophy that they are all racing for. It won't be presented until December. And they were almost at the end of April, but we've barely started, have we? We've only just begun.
It's a long season, and these drivers need to remember that. Consistency is what will win this championship, and so far the consistency award goes to All Inkle, and with both their drivers at the top of the points. Esteban, again, difficult weekend, got knocked around a lot in that last race, but a 3rd and a 5th to his name, and he's starting on the front row here, so points do make prizes, but you've got to make sure you keep finishing.
I tell you what, for the two of them, the Latin drivers in those Munich Motorsport cars, Esteban Guerrieri and Nesta Girolami, they have this remarkable ability to keep calm through all of that battering and just get on with the job. Away we go. Jan Erlechet needs to move soon. He does. He's rolling from 4th on the grid. Mr. Girolami was behind him, waiting to go. And it looks as though all our cars are rolling away safely on the final formation lap here for the races of Hungary. Race 3 of 3. The 6th of 30 races in the 2019 FIA World Touring Car Cup. So 27 cars leave the grid, led by the one that everybody here wants to win. Everybody who was born here, at any rate. Norbert Mikelic ahead of Esteban Guerrieri, Jan Erlechet and Gabriele Tarquini, who'll be arch rivals. Nesta Girolami, the joint points leader, Michele Ascona, Ted Björk and Augusto Farfus, Daniel Hegloff and John Carl Verne round out the 10. Huff and Prio 11th and 12th, ahead of Katzberg and Panis 13th and 14th. Muller 15th ahead of Panis' teammate Coronel. Then the youngest driver in the field, Attila Tashi with Mehdi Banani. Then Fred Vervisch, Benny Leuchter, Thiago Montero, Johan Christoffersen, Nils Lankeveld, Kevin Chekon, Gordon Shedden, Marcin Kwa, and our wildcard, Tamas Tenka, the Hungarian who rounds out our 27-car field. Next time out in Slovakia, we may possibly have a wildcard entry from Mato Homola. The Hungarian won the first of the TCR Europe races earlier today here in Hungary. And of course, he's previously raced in World Touring Cars. So Homola having success in the first race, and Peugeot winning the second race. Nesta Girolami and Esteban Guerrieri are joint championship leaders on points. There will be a way of differentiating between them, but that'll happen at the end of this race unless neither of them score points. Ted Björk lies third, 20 back. Jean-Carl Verne, Gabriele Tarquini, and Ivan Muller. All of that experience racked up at the top of the field. Fredrik Vervisch, look at that, Michele Ascona. 5 races now into the championship, and he is in 8th place in the points. Well, if anybody's got problems, they're keeping their cards close to their chest. Nobody complaining at all so far on the final formation lap. So that might be a world record. Surely somebody's got something to whinge about. 27 cars weave their way around, trying to get some heat into the tyres. There are no tyre warmers. It looks like nobody is using anything other than a slick tyre either, Richard Coleman. So what the weather brings, the weather brings. But as of now, we have a full grid of hopefully healthy cars and everybody ready for the final race here.
Is it declared a wet race or not? Yes, they declare a wet race, so we have to have the lights on.
Certainly looks drier from what we saw in the closing stages of race 2.
But still sprinkles of rain in the air as we get ready for the final countdown. "27 cars head to the grid in Hungary for the final race at the Hungaroring. And once the green flag waves, we'll be into the last countdown. 5 red lights will come on, and then all 27 will charge into the first corner in very mixed conditions. It is still sprinkling with rain. Race 3 in Hungary is about to get underway. Norbert Mikelic, the local hero on pole from Esteban Guerrieri, who makes a very good start. So too does Gabriele Tarquini, so too does Nesta Girolami from 5th on the grid. Look for the black and white of his car. Guerrieri's going to have the lead on the inside. Norby can't cover it off. Now he's got to think what his other options are. Tarquini's on the inside. Girolami round the outside goes Erlaché. Round the outside goes Björk. Round the outside goes Muller. Erlaché is right behind us. We are on board with Norbert Mikelic. It's a little calmer run down into turns 1 and 2. And at the moment, Esteban Guerrieri has the lead from Mikelic and Tarquini. Richard, that was a relative... Oh, did Tarquini get ahead of Mikelic into second? I think he might have.
He certainly did, and basically Mikelic tried to take a leaf out of Girolami's book, but was too slow off the line to make that work. So Esteban had already got his nose up. And who's that? That's a Lincoln go off. That's
no, it's
Prio.
not. No, it's not. That's only 2 digits, so that's not Prio. That is not Björk. That's got to be Erlaché way back there. How's that happened?
No,
or is that 3 digits? It is one of them.
That is Prio, yeah. Yellow stripe on the bonnet.
Oh, and that 69 goes across the chicane. That's not good for the Audi of Jean-Carl Vernet. Got contact there. And again, Vernet shoved offline, that time by Ivan Muller. Yes, 100. So we're on board with Jean-Carl Vernet, right behind Ivan Muller.
Sorry, I did push Andy, but it was clearly not on purpose.
Oh dear. Okay, well, you know, when you've got 4 cars that are identical in performance, they're going to end up on the same bit of tarmac. That's always going to be the case. So Ivan holding his hands up to having nudged Prio offline.
Very difficult in these conditions as well. Very snatch a break or just try and catch a slide. And before you know it, you've bounced into the car in front of you.
Or have to avoid somebody else's drama and bounced into your teammate. Across the line, Esteban Guerrieri leads from Gabriele Tarquini and Norbert Mikelic. Gabriele will not give a race away if he gets into the lead, just to allow Norby to win at home. So if Norby's to win here, he's got to do it on his own, despite his teammate. Jean-Carl Vernet had a run down the outside of Ivan Muller. Muller pulled in front of him, and now he's challenging Nicky Katzberg. This is for 11th place, so Ivan's gone back 2 spots off the grid. He's gone back more. He's now fought back up to 12th. He started in 10th place. Didn't start ahead of that, didn't he?
And the stewards are going to take a look at the incident between Ivan and Prio. Obviously, they're teammates, but of course, the stewards treat them as individual competitors. So may well not be the end of that. They'll have to have a look into it and make a decision.
Yeah, because if you don't and you end up with teammates knocking each other off in the final race to decide the championship, then you've opened a can of worms. So, Ivan Muller, Jean-Carl Vernet, there's Aurelien Panis in the first of DHL Cupras. 2 cars behind is his teammate Tom Coronel with Frederick Vervish between them. So that's as they were at the beginning. So far, Esteban Guerrieri looking as though he's creeping away very fractionally from Tarquini and Mikelic. But with those Hyundais in 2nd and 3rd, he's on his own rear gunner. Well, he doesn't have one because his own teammate Nesta Girolami is down 6th, 7th, battling with Ted Björk. So Guerrieri's going to be on his own. If Tarquini and Mikelic can engineer something, if they can go away with Guerrieri, then he might well get jumped before the end of the race. There's Ted Björk locking up ahead of Nesta Girolami.
The Lincoln Co, again, not having fantastic straight line speed, so look out for that theme, because the Honda has been quite punchy in a straight line.
Guerrieri, Tarquini, Michelic, and then Erlache in fourth. Fifth place, Michela Skona in the grey Cupra. Then the second of the blue cars, that's Ted Björk. The second of the black and white cars, that's Nestor Girolami, ahead of Daniel Hegloff in the other grey Cupra, the one with the white flashes down the side. Rob Huff up to 9th place from 11th on the grid. And rounding out the top 10, Augusto Farfus, the first of the Lukoil sponsored Hyundais. So right behind, Ivan Muller versus Jean-Carl Vernet. There's Ivan in front of us. In front of him is Nicky Katzberg in 11th. Looks as though Katzberg is free from attack at the moment. Vernet less so. Aurelian Panis, fast in both free practice sessions. His pace seems to have deserted him, though, since Saturday morning. But we've seen both PWR Cupras are right up the sharp end, so there's no earthly reason, really, why the yellow ones shouldn't be as well.
No, absolutely not, but their weekend came unstuck, as you said, on Saturday morning, and really haven't got the best out of that package this weekend. And, of course, could be even worse for them in Slovakia, because they're going to get the BOP.
Yeah, that'll...
that's been created by the sisters Cupra team of PWR.
Exactly right. So whatever they can do here, they need to get it done. Aurelian Panis looking at an Audi in front, but there's one challenging him from behind. Panis in the number 21 DHL Cupra. Right in front of him is Jean-Carl Vernet. Vernet's Audi pulls out of corner 13 a little quicker into the final corner. He's looking at the smoking tyres of Ivan Muller in front, hoping that he'll get a run on the Lynk & Co down the straight, because the Audi is quicker in terms of top speed than the blue cars. On to lap 4.
Bjork having to go to defensive. Girolami getting into that toe off the last corner.
Mr. Girolami piling on the pressure. He and the race leader, Esteban Guerrieri, are the joint championship leaders. Girolami with 2 wins already, plus a big hatful of points from pole. Björk, Girolami, Hegloff and Huff. Right now, Björk, I would think, is the man under most pressure. He's got nobody in front that he can get to, and he's got Nestor
Ivan's
Girolami
got a drive
behind.
through.
Oh dear. Okay.
Stewards did not like whatever they've seen. They've got some fantastic CCTV style footage here at this circuit, and you can't get away with much. So on reflection, the stewards have decided to give Ivan a drive-through penalty for taking his own teammate Andy Prio off the road.
Well, doesn't help Ivan, doesn't help Prio. Andy's down to 21st from 12th at the start of the race, so he's a long way still from points. Ivan taking a drive-through moves Andy up to 20th, which is still 5 points away from even, 5 places away from even 1 point. Not sure Ivan will respond well to that news.
Drive-through, Ivan, drive-through.
Daniel Hegloff and Rob Huff get into contact together. Huff finds a way through on the inside. Hegloff had better shut the door against Augusto Farfus. He's trying to come back at Rob Huff. Volkswagen not the fastest thing here. Huff the only one in the points. Benani is 18th, Benny Leutner 20th, Johan Kristoffersen 25th. And through the pits comes Ivan Muller. There may be a degree of French effing and jeffing going on, but he knows in his heart of hearts, after admitting it on the radio, he was probably going to get penalised for that. And take your medicine early. Who knows what might come. If it rains hard and cars skate off, you might still earn some points.
Yeah, you have to take your drive-through within 3 laps of it being served. So you may as well get that out of the way, and it's a non-appealable penalty. So you've got no choice to argue that one. You've just got to take it.
Well, Norby tried to cover off Esteban Guerrieri on the inside, didn't he? Oh, hang on a minute. While we're watching this, there's been a change for the lead. Tarquini led across the line ahead of Michelic with Guerrieri in 3rd. So replay of the start there. We saw how Guerrieri got ahead, but how did the lead change? Our timing screen showing that Esteban Guerrieri is now in 3rd place. Looking back at Thiago Monteiro. Battles all the way down the order, but the field much more, well, disciplined. as Gordon Shedden gets a touch, not this time from Marcin Kowal, but from the other Alpha driver, Kevin Chekon. And Flash there with now a nudge from Johan Kristoffersson. Chekon couldn't make the chicane. Is it raining more out the back there? Is that maybe what happened? Or is that just part of this slightly random battle going on? Chekon has got away from Shedden, whose car does not look entirely comfortable. There's dirt all over the place. Now, who's gone off there? Flash goes out very wide in turn 11.
Yeah, a miserable race weekend for poor Flash. Three-time British touring car champion, not used to being down the back end of any field, but yeah, really struggling at the moment.
Well, there is confirmation, the leaders across the line. So Gabriele Tarquini and Norbert Mikulec first and second, Esteban Guerrieri in third, Jan Erlaché in fourth is not too far away. Mikel Ascona in fifth and Ted Björk in sixth and Girolami in seventh. Then a 1 second gap it was back to Rob Huff in eighth. So what happens here? We're looking back at Jan Erlaché.
This is on board with Mikulec looking back, car 5.
Okay, so at the chicane, somehow Tarquini got inside Guerrieri, who had to surrender or hit the tyres, and both Hyundais went by. We didn't see how that happened, but we know how it ended.
Strange place to have a run on somebody as well, so can't help but think maybe Esteban made a small mistake on the exit of the corner before the chicane.
Yeah. Well, that might have been corner 5. It might all have come from hitting the curbs too hard here in turn 4, struggling for grip all the way around into this long right-hander at turn 5. Basically, if you get the nose in here, it tends to stick. But somehow Tarquini took a shot down the inside. Coronel's having a look. But again, you know, it shows that unless there's a mistake from the car in front, you can close a tiny bit, but you can't get alongside. So I think there must have been a mistake, maybe in corner 4, from Esteban Guerrieri.
Real close racing as we watch the two KCMG Hondas. They're having a miserable weekend. I mean, they've not really featured inside the points-paying positions. Meanwhile, the other sister team have been, you know, consistently in the top 5 and won both races. So, yeah, you'd expect a big post-mortem after this race for the KCMG team. And, of course, they're highly populated by the people that make the car, Sport as well. So, very odd to see those guys so far off the sister Honda team.
Although Tashi made big inroads in race 2, only to get shunted out wide and then drop all the way back down the order. So he found a ladder, but then unfortunately before the checkered flag he found a snake, and so he ended up dropping down the order. Aurélien Panis, 13th, battling with Jean-Carl Vernet in that turquoise and red Audi in 12th. Little further up, Jan Erlaché is likely perhaps to get unsettled out of 4th place. Problem for young Mikel Ascona in that grey Cupra is not the car in front as much as the car behind, isn't it? Ted Björk smells blood in the water, and the moment Ascona has a lunge at Erlaché, who's a little bit of the Augusto Farfus in this train, Björk's going to go by like a rat up a drain pipe. Ted needs some points after having a pretty tough race too.
Certainly does, and it's Erlaché that looks like he's struggling with car balance at the moment. Lots of snaking around, and you can see him working very hard at the wheel. So Ancona needs to get on with it, really, because he also knows that Björk can't attack Erlaché in the same way that he can attack him. You know, teammates have to sort of obey some rules there, really.
Well, all sorts of dramas going on. And not just that we can see from the truck, we hear that Johan Kristoffersson's team have detected a major anomaly in the engine, and their suggestion to him mid-race is that he tries turning it off and turning it on again. Now, we've seen this before. We saw Gabriele Tarquini doing it successfully in a race, Control-Alt-Delete, restarting a car, but Kristoffersson's not entirely convinced that that's the best way of skinning this particular onion. Mind you, he's 25th. He may as well. Right, let's reset ourselves as we approach the mid-race distance, end of lap 7 of 15. Gabriele Tarquini leads teammate Norbert Michelis with Esteban Guerrieri in third. There are the two Hyundais, and they are pulling away from the Honda. Now, one of the elements here may be, Nesta Girolami battling against Rob Huff, our double race winner already this weekend, trying to hang on to 7th place. Remember, qualifying on Saturday, Guerrieri could not get a lap in without exceeding track limits, kept losing laps. We think probably had to go for an additional set of tyres to get a qualifying run in and get a time in. Maybe that is coming back to bite him now that he's got more worn tyres on the car than anybody else around him.
Yeah, possibly. I thought that would have featured more in qualifying than in the races, if I'm honest, but it could be a possibility. I think that Esteban must have just made a mistake, perhaps in turn 5, because an odd place to get a run on somebody into 6. So I think Tarquini could have done that without a little bit of help from an error from Guerrieri himself. We watched Rob Huff being very racy at the moment at this stage of the race, over the back of Nesta Girolami, who doesn't look like he's all over the back of that little group ahead of him.
Yeah, Girolami in 7th, Huff in 8th. Huff the only Volkswagen in the points still. Volkswagen scored a total of 9 points in Marrakesh. They have got more than that here, but all those men in blue jackets, that's a lot of top-down pressure from the factory operation on Sebastian Loeb Racing's quartet of cars, and they are not punching anywhere near close to their weight. So they're not going to get an awful lot more points here. For Volkswagen Motorsport, this is a major drama, which is about to become a huge crisis. And the problem is, if they have got a poor balance of performance, Mehdi Benani twice setting fastest laps where they scored almost no points in Marrakesh, and Rob Huff seemingly able to produce the speed here and get positions. That's not going to help their cause when they are hoping to get a performance break. Now, that was Tarquini. Here we go, looking back from Guerrieri. Guerrieri slowed, and Tarquini went around the outside.
Yeah, he had a problem there. I think maybe a little misfire in the engine or something.
Sounds like a glitch, doesn't it?
There's no way that that was a natural occurrence.
That was not Esteban. Gabriele is faster than you.
No, he definitely had some form of issue there. It just felt like the car just didn't pick up on throttle, and then obviously it came back to life for him. So, yeah, that little glitch has potentially cost him a race win here.
There was an Alpha down the inside of a Lynk & Co. That was Ma Qinghua, the Chinese driver, putting in a move on the Chinese car of Andy Priaulx for 21st. And Daniel Hagloff with a puncture, and they're saying, put your foot on the brakes. The engine's still running. That's why that wheel was spinning. The differential is still driving because sequential gearboxes do not have a neutral. Huge queue of cars here. Mehdi Benani ahead of Thiago Montero. And this is just out of the points. Attila Tashi there, car number 9, the youngest driver in the field. He's the last point scorer, the Hungarian. Daniel Hagloff is heading back out to the pits with his car. Well, whatever happens to him in race 3, he'll be a happy boy leaving the Swede because he's had his first world-class podium in race 2. Rob Huff still chasing Nesta Girolami. And the big gaps are actually from Michelis to Guerrieri, 2nd to 3rd, and then another 1.5 seconds from Guerrieri to Erlache, 4th to 5th, 3rd to 4th rather.
Still a long way to go in this race, and all these cars are starting to wear their front tyres at different races. Seems to be a bit of moisture on some of the cameras as well, still definitely some drizzle in the air.
Well, this is what happened in race 2, isn't it? Started moderately damp and got a little bit damper and a little bit damper still. Ivan Muller has parked up. Whatever ails him, he's going to pull out of the race. Gabriele Tarquini, former teammate, longtime friend and sparring partner, leads here. And Thiago Montero looks at Mehdi Benani. The two KCMG Hondas, nose and tail to Benani. We're looking back from the Moroccan at Montero as he looks forward at Attila Tashi, who's chasing Tom Coronel, lately of this Parish Honda and now driving a Cupra. In fact, Tashi looked like he was having a good run on Coronel out of turn 2, out of 3 up to 4. The battle, I think, in front might be a little more lively. Montero uses a lot of curb up behind Benani. Tashi has not quite got to Coronel yet. Here comes Muller to park up. And after a drive-through, no chance, realistically, of even a single point. I think pragmatism there, possibly ruling with Lincoln Co and Ivan Muller.
Yeah, second retirement in as many race meetings for Ivan Muller, which isn't great for his championship hopes. Not good to have no points from 2 races so early on.
And of course, the last retirement was in race 3 in Marrakesh, where he was not last after a drive-through, he was first. And that's the one that hurts. And that's the one at the end of the year that's still going to be hurting unless he wins the title. Because when races like that are taken away because of mechanical problems, even in a new car, when you understand that these things are going to happen, you still think they're going to happen to somebody else. And there's Jan Aleshe, the stopper in the bottle, Mikel Ascona, Ted Björk, Nestor Girolami and Rob Huff. Not necessarily sure that's going to remain calm all the way to the line. Track limit warning, black and white flag, so final warning, final public warning for Benny Leuchter in the Golf. Not only can't find the speed, but can't keep it on the grey stuff either. And again, you wonder whether the changeable conditions are helping. Tashi committing to the outside of Coronel. Coronel sticking his nose out a little wide. Bernani trying to get in there as well. Tashi hanging on for the inside. Oh, into turn 3. He's young, but he's bold, isn't he?
He certainly is. He's no stranger to a few big accidents either, so have to keep our eye on this battle.
Well, Coronel did well to hold on there. I think that all started maybe with Tom having to defend on the inside line into turn 1, not carrying speed down to turn 2. Tashi got a run on him. He is bold, the youngest driver in the field, Attila Tashi. And we know that the Honda's quick. There's one in 3rd, there's one in 7th. It was on the inside of turn 1. It all started.
That's very good driving from both of them there, I have to say.
Yeah, in less experienced hands, that could have gone horribly, horribly, couldn't it? But in the end, Coronel, whatever else he's got, he has got experience and patience. And he knows that if you don't give the other guy racing room, the chances are you might not survive it either. Tashi, there's clearly just enough grip on the inside in turn 1 to hold your line. If it had been too wet, he would just gone skating off into the Cupra.
Sacchini extends his lead to just over a second from Norbert Mikulits.
Guerrieri has stopped. Esteban Guerrieri has stopped. The Argentine is out. The championship leader hits the barriers hard. We may have a safety car. We do have a safety car. Now, did the car just die on him? Did he lose steering? He just went off.
Definitely not a place to have an error. So I'd say that's either brakes or steering. Distraught championship leader.
And the safety car will close the field up. Well, that is tough for All-in-Cool, Munich Motorsport. They were looking at getting a clean sweep of victories when he started on the front row of the grid and led down into the first corner. That didn't happen. Something went wrong with the car, and the Hyundais of Gabriele Tarquini and Norbert Mikulits went by him, and then something else, and probably a different something else, went wrong with the car, and it just skated straight off the track. Legacy of earlier contact. Everything happens for a reason, but Esteban Guerrieri suggesting it sounds like it was brake failure, apparently, on the radio back to the team, or a brake issue that didn't allow the car to stop. Safety car is out. The tyre barrier in corner 11 will be examined, but I think it's probably okay. Esteban, on the run out of turn 11, went off into the barriers. So our safety car, despite the frantic nature of race 2, was not required. Now, in a much calmer race 3, suddenly we need him for an entirely uncontact related, at least not immediate contact related incident. Oh, you can hear him changing down hard there to try and retard the car, can't you? That's Yeah, that's not a driver error.
You know what's going to happen 100 feet before it does. Just have to wait for the crunch.
Yep.
But this gives Norbert Mikulec a bit of a chance. I mean, he was just fell back slightly from Tarquini, yeah, this gives him an opportunity. Obviously, he'd love nothing more than to win at home. Obviously, he's got to be a bit careful that it's his teammate ahead of him, and obviously his employer won't be too happy if something goes wrong when they're in a 1-2. But I don't think many drivers can resist giving it a go at their home race.
Esteban Guerrieri led the championship this morning before qualifying started. He was the joint leader with two-time winner Nesta Girolami at the break. If they finish as they are now, another Argentine will lead the points. It will be Nesta Girolami by 10 at the end of this race if nothing else changes. And in WTCR, that is absolutely not a given, particularly in these conditions. And these conditions may not remain. These conditions may get less damp, it may get considerably more damp. Now, of course, there's one thing that the Hungarian fans will be hoping for, is that we go green before the end, and Norby sails down the inside of Gabrielli into the first corner, takes the lead and wins gloriously in a green-white checker last lap dash for the cash. But Gabrielli will know exactly that that is what is likely to happen away from the restart, and we'll be doing his level best to prevent it.
He's a wily old fox, Gabrielli, but I also think that we should get some racing laps in here. Obviously, the race gets slightly extended for the 2 laps that were under the safety car. Yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult for them to recover Esteban's car.
So Gabriele Tarquini will have to judge this neatly. All he can do is try and run away from Norby when the safety car comes in. Norby has got to stick to him like what's it to a blanket, hasn't he? He's got to be absolutely right up Gabriele's exhaust pipe, but without overheating his car behind the safety car.
Driver's just trying to maintain tyre temperatures, a lot of weaving going on, as we're obviously not at racing speeds behind the safety car, and ambient temperatures fairly low here.
Now, if you're Jan Erlaché, Tarquini and Mikulec in front of you, you are praying with everything you've got for Norby to have a lunge at Gabrielli and for both of them to drift out wide so that you can slot down the inside and canter gloriously to a victory that could have been the Italians. Now, whether that particular plot twist happens or not, again, we're going to have to wait for the safety car to come in to find out.
Stranger things have happened.
Yes.
Let's hear from Gabriele Tarquini.
Tell that the safety car is too slow because we have cold tires. Try to have more speed from the safety, please. Okay, Gabriele, we are speaking with race direction about this. We are communicating the thing.
Well, the safety car driver always has a set speed that he's limited to. So I'm sure Mirek will have told Pedro Cajero to try and keep the pace up. Safety car will come in this lap. So the race distance has gone from 15 to 17 laps. We lost 2 behind the safety car of racing. We've added a further 2, which is the maximum number we can add. And now Pedro will switch the lights off at the end of timing set to 2 and really get the hammer down in the Audi R8 to be out of the way as we get ready to restart. At the end of lap 14, there will be 3 racing laps remaining. And if you can see more than one Hyundai as they come out of the final corner, Norby has misjudged it quite badly.
Mikulec's his best chance to win this race. He's under this restart. But of course, Gabriele will want to disabuse him of that notion fairly early on. And yeah, Mikulec's quite a long way back. I wonder if he's perhaps under team orders just to bring it home, because you'd expect him to be right up behind him at this stage.
Yeah, Gabriele's already gone, and Norby was making no attempt to stay with him. Gabriele Tarquini will canter away at the restart. It's going to be an easy start for him. Norbert Mikulec under no threat from Jan Erlaché. The battle behind is Girolami versus Huff for 6th position. That'll be the car that we see pull out in the slipstream. It'll be the Golf of Rob Huff. There's the black and white car of Nestor Girolami. Huff sending it. No, he's not. Not close enough. Nor is Jean-Carl Vernet behind Nicky Katzberg. Augusto Farfus riding rear gunner to Rob Huff. He was looking at Huff maybe having a lunge and getting that wrong. Farfus couldn't get close enough to tuck underneath the British driver. And Huff is still all over the back of Nestor Girolami for 6th position.
Yeah, I can only think that Mikulits was told just to bring it home in a 1-2 for the team. You can understand why the team would say that too. But yeah, he's pretty much exactly where he was gap-wise before the safety car came out. So Tarquini just got to get it home for the next couple of laps.
Now, the only other very slight fly in Norby's ointment was that he reported high engine temperatures in race 2. If behind the safety car that might have become an issue, then that might perhaps have been part of it as well, but we won't know until afterwards. Further back, Jean-Carl Vernet under pressure from Aurelien Panis. This is for 10th. Panis with all but no points for a weekend that started with lots of speed in free practice 1 and free practice 2. Needs to make sure he at least finishes this race and gets some more on the board. Right behind him is Frederick Vervisch, then the other yellow car of Tom Coronel. And again, you can see Panis pulling out the slipstream to have a look at where the inside is of Jean-Carl Vernet. He's not getting through there, he was not close enough.
And at this stage of the race, Martin, Rob Huff has also got the fastest lap, so again, not a great point-scoring weekend for Volkswagen, yet putting their head above the parapet on the BOP.
Yeah, yes, it's not working very well for them so far, is it? Tarquini leads across the line from Mikulits, Erlaché looking for a podium in 3rd, and Kevin Chekon has gone off. Left front corner damage, safety car back out, and this time I think that might spell the end of the race. We're on lap 16 of 17. We will finish surely under safety car. Gabriele Tarquini reduces the pace immediately, sees the yellow flags and the safety car boards. The car's no longer at racing speed. We are lap 16 of 17, the safety car coming out. Kevin Chekon has gone off, joining Ivan Muller, who's parked up, and Esteban Guerrieri, who was in the barriers. And I think this is down at turn 9. There were yellow flags out there we were warned of, and Chekon has gone off. And whether that was the damage that put him off, or whether he went off and the damage is as a legacy of that, I think probably the contact, or the number of contacts that car's had earlier in the 2 races has had a cumulative effect there somewhere. So Gabriele Tarquini got away from Norby at the restart, and this is going to be a very straightforward run through to the finish. Chekon behind the barriers, out of the car. Let's hear from Gabriele.
Okay, the laps will go down even if it's safety car, so now it's 2 laps to go. Next lap will be last lap, the beginning of last lap. So 2 laps now, 2 real laps to go. Okay.
Now, shall we join the dots? The stewards are investigating car 52, Gordon Shedden, who's 21st, car 14, Johan Kristoffersen, who's 22nd, and car number 31, Kevin Chekon, who's in the barriers. I'm saying somewhere in there is the reason Chekon's in the barriers.
You've been watching CSI again, haven't you, Martin?
Do you know what? It's a wild stab in the dark, but somewhere in there. Andy Prio also moved up a spot, but he's not being investigated, so I think he was behind the 3 of those who have all gone off stage left, and one of them ended up in the orchestra pit, and the others have rejoined behind Prio. Doesn't benefit Prio much. He moves up from 20-something to 20th. Not the greatest day, I'm afraid, for AP. Final point scorer, by the way, is Mehdi Benani. So 2 Volkswagens in the points. And as you said, Rob Huff with the fastest race lap. So in 6 races so far this season, Volkswagen have set the fastest lap in 3 of them. And it doesn't matter who's driving or what team they are representing, it is the make of car that goes quickly wherever it comes from. Let's have a look
So this is on board with Christopherson, I assume.
And so right in front, yeah.
Didn't look like there was any contact with Gordon or...
No, or Christopherson. But there was a blue car in front, and that would have been Andy Prio. So diplomatic relationships between Guernsey and Italy may be slightly more strained after the race than they were before. So I'm not sure quite, we couldn't quite see because the low camera view and a couple of cars in front sort of masked everything. But as we head on to the final lap, one thing of which we are relatively likely to be able to talk is Gabriele Tarquini taking his first win of the season. Second win. Because he won race 2 in Marrakesh, didn't he? The only one that he didn't win last year. So he won race 2 in Marrakesh, winning race 3 here. So our reigning champion with his second victory, a few corners away. You heard his engineer saying the race will finish under safety car, as indeed it does. The final corner, Gabriele Tarquini will come to the line. Checkered flag will be out for the Italian. And the reigning champion takes maximum points from race 3. Norman Mikulic on the podium. That'll please the fans, not as much as him being on the top step of the podium. But Jan Erlosche in third place may not be shaking Gabriele quite so warmly by the hand as otherwise would be the case. Michael Ascona fourth, Ted Björk in fifth, and Nestor Girolami in sixth position is our new points leader after 6 races of the FIA WTCR. So Tarquini wins the final encounter, the second race of the season for the Italian to claim victory here in Hungary. And there's our new championship leader. 6th position in race 3, but pole position and victory in race 1 and victory in race 2. All in all, his best world-class touring car weekend and the most valued driver of the weekend in terms of points scored.
Deservedly so as well. He put together a great weekend. Esteban was a little bit scrappy in qualifying, whereas Girolami got the job done. And he's had some, difficult conditions today, and he's capitalised on them. And bringing it home at 6th place in this race 3 is no bad result either.
A 66-point weekend. That's really hard to argue. Norman Mikulic will be on the podium for the final time this weekend. Second position behind teammate Gabriele Tarquini, and the track has been open, so the fans will be able to crowd down into the pit lane below the podium and onto the track below the podium. So he will receive a vociferous welcome, undoubtedly.
He's going to be more worried about the 30+ kilos that he'll have in Slovakia, but...
There you go. can't be having it both ways. So a Hyundai 1-2, Lincoln Co. third. Was the best lap for Tarquini, a 51.196. Best lap for Mikulic, a 51.193. Despite all of that action, could it be that they were driving to a delta?
It's very possible.
0.003 of a second separate their best laps. However, for all of that, they will take the pain. I mean, think about Gabriele last year. 2 great weekends to open the season, and then 2 horrible weekends because he doesn't like the Nordschleife, and because they had, penalty weights and so on, and the car was really uncompetitive when they went to Zandvoort. So, but the points are what count at the end of the year. You get nothing for ending up with the best BOP at the end of the season. You only get anything for ending up with the best points.
But trust me, the big teams do play a lot on the BOP and making sure that they're always in the frame to be able to be competitive where we go.
Well, right now, our team's points leaders are all Inkel Munich Motorsport, and our top 2 drivers are both from that team. The gold helmet of Gabriele Tarquini, the reigning champion, our race winner. There is Jan Ehrlichey with Sign Racing Link & Co. in 3rd place. Mum Kathy Muller, there she is, on the pit wall. Ivan's sister, who, like Ivan, raced in single-seaters. In fact, she preceded Ivan into motor racing, raced in single-seaters up to Formula 3000. And she's here with a group of female karters, the Girls on Track campaign run by the FIA. Half a dozen European aspiring racing drivers are here this weekend with the teams. They've all been linked to a driver who of the same nationality, who they've been following around all weekend. They've been shown how the TV works, how race control works, scrutineering, drivers briefing, everything from start to finish. Great opportunity to try and inspire more young female talent to come into the sport. And if anybody needs inspiration to get into professional touring car racing for a long-lived career, that man, Gabriele Tarquini, has got to be the ultimate inspiration. Still going strongly and a race winner in his 6th decade.
Wiley Fox, once again, your 2nd win of the season. Gabriele, what a race. Esteban's loss was your gain there.
Yeah, I don't know. He lost power. Something happened to Esteban. So for me, it was just to control the pace. My car was fantastic. I mean, to be honest, with this small water, the tires was okay. The car balance was exactly what I want. I can really push as much as I want, and the car was fantastic. So thanks to the team, thanks to Hyundai, because I mean it was the best car of the season.
Oh, but you beat Norby his home race.
Yeah. I'm really, really, really sorry for him, because last year we finished in the same order. This time he was just unlucky on fighting on the first corner. I was coming back out of the first corner much faster than him. I know that he wants to win, and I'm sorry for him.
More points for you is good. Yeah, well done, Gabby.
Yeah, Gabriele Tarquini, as always, the ultimate professional. He knows exactly where to get his elbows out, where to roll his sleeves up, but his heart is in the right place. And Norman Mikulis in 2nd position, a 1-2 for Hyundai. And Gabriele Tarquini perhaps not helping their cause there by saying they've still got the best car of the season. Maybe he meant his car was the best it's been all season today, but it's still a very competitive proposition. Link & Co 3rd with Jan Ehrlichey, another different Link & Co driver on the podium. So far, Ivan Muller, Ted Björk and now Jan Ehrlichey have been on the podium. Yet to feature in a podium finish, Andy Prio, but only 6 races into his World Touring Car return. WTCR, a very long way from the last time he drove touring cars on the world stage, which of course was a rear-drive BMW driver.
Hugely popular. So he can't move for fans in Hungary, and he would have had a full week of press activities leading up to this event.
At the very least. Munich Motorsport drivers 1st and 2nd. Nesta Girolami takes the lead away from Hungary as they head next time to Slovakia ahead of Esteban Guerrieri. Ted Björk lies 3rd from Gabriele Tarquini, who's overhauled Jean-Carl Vernet. Michele Ascona in 6th position. Teammate Daniel Hagloff in 12th spot. Ahead of Huff and Prio and Montero and Katzberg and Sheridan and Marr and Coronel and all of them. For the PWR racing team, I think they are absolutely feeling no pain at the moment, but for Munich Motorsport, what a start to the season it's been. What a weekend they have had here as well in Hungary. Gabriele Tarquini, our final race winner, moves back up the order and firmly into title contention.